The scream pierced the thin metal hull of the observation dome like a knife through glass. I froze, the small human child I had been guiding trembling in my arms, blood streaking her temple where the predator cub's claws had grazed her skin. All around us, the alien cubs of the Varric pack hissed and circled, eyes glowing like molten copper in the dim emergency lights. The world I thought I understood, Earth, the stations orbiting it, the fragile peace between species, crumbled in an instant. And yet, none of us were prepared for what came next. I remembered the first time I saw them. The cubs, no larger than a wolf pup, yet every muscle coiled with predatory precision. Their eyes, dark and fathomless, followed me with a curiosity I mistook for innocence. But that day had taught me the opposite. When the smallest of them leapt at the child, it wasn't play. It was instinct. I shouted, but my voice was swallowed by the cavernous steel of the station. By the time I reached the child, she was bleeding, and the cub froze only because the other Varric had hesitated. That hesitation sealed its fate. Execution was immediate. Tradition demanded it. Blood law was clear. And yet, I could not let them kill it. They're going to execute it, I whispered, my voice trembling even as I drew a hand scanner from my belt. The Varric elders' antennae twitched as they advanced, their exoskeletal arms flexing. Their logic was perfect, their morality precise. Pain or injury demanded balance, retribution, death if necessary. I swallowed, forcing words out through a throat tight with fear and adrenaline. Stop. Don't. I forbid it. The room went silent. Not the polite silence of agreement, but the shivering pause before a storm. The cub blinked at me, claws digging into the cold floor. It was an animal, yes, but something more too. Something that had sensed the weight of my command, the defiance in a human standing where no human had any authority. For a heartbeat, we existed in a space outside time, a suspended moment where logic and morality collided violently. And then the eldest Varric elder spoke, its voice a low vibration, almost a growl. You do not understand human weakness. Your law does not bind us. I understand enough, I said, holding the child closer. I understand that what you call weakness is mercy. The elder's antennae shivered, and I saw a ripple of indecision pass through the pack. That was only the beginning. The station itself seemed to hold its breath. Outside the observation dome, the void stretched infinitely, indifferent to the drama inside. The child whimpered, clutching at my jacket, and I felt the heat of her fear, the fragility of her pulse against my own. In that moment, I realized that I was not merely defending the cub. I was standing at the crossroads of two worlds, human and Varric, and the wrong choice would doom more than just one small life. They led us into the execution hall, a circular chamber with a polished obsidian floor that reflected every movement twice. I kept my eyes on the cub. It limped slightly, its right forepaw scratched, but it met my gaze with an intelligence that made me question the very nature of predator and prey. The elders arranged themselves in a perfect circle, and the light overhead dimmed, leaving us in a pool of shadowed anticipation. I could feel the unspoken calculations, the child's injury, the laws of their species, the potential consequences of my defiance. None of it was comforting. And yet, even as the elders' decision hung in the balance, I could not stop thinking about why the cub had attacked in the first place. It wasn't cruelty. It was fear. Confusion. Hunger maybe, or the pull of instincts it could not yet control. In that realization, something hardened in me. If I could save it, maybe I could save us all, from a cycle of violence neither species had yet learned to escape. The microhook came suddenly, like a pulse through the chamber. One of the younger Varric cubs hissed, darting forward, claws scraping the floor. It froze mid-step, ears flicking toward me. What I saw next changed everything. The cub, the one about to be executed, made a strange motion. It pressed its forehead to mine, a gesture I had never seen in any creature but thoughtlessly mirrored in the human child when they sought comfort. The room trembled with a silence heavy enough to crack steel. That moment of connection, a bridge between instinct and emotion, was a shockwave I would carry forever. I stepped forward, ignoring the sharp hiss of disapproval. You don't have to obey this law blindly, I said. You can make another choice. Life doesn't have to be punished for survival. The elder's antennae twitched violently. A second, the hall filled with the low hum of internal conflict, the vibration of thought moving faster than muscle. I realized then that I was no longer speaking just to one alien. I was speaking to the potential for reason within them, to a moral calculus that could evolve. None of us were prepared for the truth. I spoke then of instinct, fear, trust, and mercy. I spoke of the child's laughter, of the cub's hesitant nuzzle, of a bond that transcended law. The words were simple, but I could see them ripple through the Varric delegation, challenging centuries of encoded morality. They did not smile, they could not, but the tension lifted slightly, the rigid lines of tradition bending just enough to allow possibility. None of us were prepared for the truth, but perhaps we were ready to live with it. In the weeks that followed, the station became a nexus of fragile peace. Humans and Varric observed, learned, and adapted. The cub grew stronger, its instincts tempered by guidance, its intelligence blossoming in ways neither species had predicted. The child and the cub became inseparable, a living symbol that life, however fragile, demanded respect above all else. And me? I realized that sometimes survival was not about strength or law, it was about choosing the right moment to break both. The final moment came quietly, without fanfare. I watched the cub and the child chase each other through the gravity-shifted playground we had built aboard the station, laughter and low growls mingling in a language all their own. The sun of a nearby system glinted off the station's hull, casting long warm shadows. I felt a peace I had not known since the day the scream first shattered my world. And in that fleeting perfect moment, I understood that mercy had a power even death could not match. As the stars stretched endlessly beyond the viewport, I whispered to no one, yet to everyone, "We survived because we chose life." The cub turned its head, ears flicking, and for a second, I could have sworn it nodded. The child laughed, spinning in the zero-gravity corridor, and I knew the future had shifted irrevocably. And though the void remained vast and indifferent, in that instant, it felt like home. The last echo of the scream had faded long ago, but its lesson lingered. Life was a fragile thing, predator and prey alike. And sometimes the smallest act of defiance, an impossibly human choice, could change the fate of worlds. I closed my eyes, breathing in the hum of the station, the soft panting of the cub, the heartbeat of the child. The universe stretched before us, endless, unknowable, and for the first time, I felt hope. And that was only the beginning. The mid-story turning point struck like an asteroid. Sensors on the outer hull screamed a warning. An unknown vessel had breached the station's approach vectors. Its shape was jagged, alien in a way the Varric had never catalogued. It moved with intention, cutting through the void like a living shadow. The elders froze. The cub I defended froze. The child screamed, startled, gripping my arm as the entire station shook from an electromagnetic pulse emanating from the approaching craft. We were no longer the only threat in this room, or in this system. Survival was no longer a simple question of law or instinct. And the cub, small, injured and defiant, was the key to what came next. In the chaos I made a choice. I scooped the cub up, ignoring its squirming protest, and ran toward the emergency shuttles. The elders bellowed, their voices harmonizing in a low, vibrating fury that shook the steel walls. But I ran. The child clung to my other arm, tears streaking her face, and I realized with a punch to the chest that fear, our shared human fear, was a bond stronger than law. What I saw next changed everything. The younger Varric, the one who had hesitated before, now followed. Not out of obedience but curiosity. Something had shifted inside them, the seed of choice planted by witnessing my defiance. We reached the shuttle bay, the doors hissing as they opened to the void. Outside, stars glimmered coldly, distant and indifferent. The alien vessel drifted closer, a black monolith against the light of distant nebulae, and for a moment, I understood the truth of our precarious existence. Civilizations were fragile. Morality was fragile. And mercy. Mercy might be the most dangerous thing of all. The flight was silent at first. The child wept quietly, her small hand pressing against the cub's injured paw, and I watched the bond form in real time. The cub whimpered but did not bite, its instincts overridden by something it could not yet understand. Trust. I wondered if the elders would ever forgive me, or if they even had the capacity for forgiveness. None of us were prepared for the truth, and yet here it was, unfolding in the shuttle's dim cockpit lights. Days passed in orbit around the fractured moon of Kepler 92b. The alien vessel had followed us but did not attack, choosing instead to drift silently, a ghost in the void. I patched the cub's wounds with advanced medical gel, its body shivering under my hands. The child watched intently, asking questions about the cub species, its habits, its thoughts. I realized then that curiosity could be a weapon, as powerful as any gun or starship. We had survived the immediate danger, but the larger moral and existential questions remained. Could we coexist? Could mercy shape an entire species? Could a predator learn to trust? And then the final confrontation came. Not with claws or lasers, but with understanding. The elders arrived at our orbit, not with weapons, but with a delegation, their ship's docking bay open like a gesture of peace or challenge. I met them halfway, the cub resting in the child's lap, its eyes following every movement. The eldest elder's antennae twitched once, then twice, as if weighing my worth, my choice, my very essence. Finally it spoke. You have defied us. You have endangered yourself. And yet, you have survived. Explain.